Hello again and welcome back to The Life Kawaii. Today I'm starting a brand new project. I'm very happy to finally have finished that white velvet dress and move on to something else. So I have a very nice wedding dress that I purchased from eBay for about $25. It is monstrously huge and I'm going to take it apart and make it into something else, or maybe two other things. I don't know yet, but there is a huge train, so I have tons of fabric to just play around. You know that saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure? Well, in this case, this woman's trash is going to be my wonderful treasure. So there are a lot of different ways to do this if you have never done this before. I have a couple of other friends who sew, and they have their own ways of taking things apart and mocking them into other things. One thing that I like to do is sit down and actually draw out a few different designs so I can kind of get an idea of maybe what it is that I want to sew. Sometimes I just lay the dress out or hang it up on something, and then I go through my sewing patterns to see if anything strikes me and inspires me to sew. So you can either keep your dress together and you can put pattern pieces on it and cut it out like that, or you could also go ahead and just start removing seams and taking your pieces apart. Now, I think for this design, I may do a little bit of both of those things just because it does have a lot of beading, and beading is not always fun to sew back together. So if you have something like I do that has beads in it and you maybe don't want to mess up the part, or you want to keep the bodice as it is, try to keep that in mind before you start cutting things or opening up seams. Now, I think the design that I want to do, I might reuse this bodice part, so I'm going to try to leave the bodice beading part alone. But the other elements, like this front, which is tacked down just here at the bottom, I know that I want to use that, so I'm going to go ahead and open up that seam and take that piece of fabric away from the rest of this and set it aside. And I also know that I want to use this beautiful back piece that already has the buttons sewn on it for something else. So I will go ahead and take that out as well. So I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee, sit down with my seam ripper, put on some of my favorite anime shows, and I'm going to sit here for the next 2 or 3 hours just taking things apart. So, here we go.